hours. This is Katie Farmer and Zach Taher, and we're going to talk to you about Topgolf and how we did our model on data revenue forecasting. So the presentation overview, we're first going to talk about what Topgolf is exactly, the problem, the context that we had at Topgolf, the methods we used to solve it, the problems and solution, and then we're going to conclude. Okay, so Topgolf is a premier golf entertainment complex. It currently has 19 locations in 2 different countries and plans to open many more. And it allows people of all skill levels to go hit a microchipped golf ball into an interactive driving range, basically, and it keeps track of your score. So, and then also, it serves food and beverages, so they get revenue from the food and beverages as well as the golf game. So the problem that we're facing is that Topgolf has been collecting all this data, but they're not using the data to make a forecasting model or use it in any way, really. So they're struggling to predict the customer trends, and they want a way to forecast the activity and revenue for a given time. So this was our structure, and so Ken May is the COO of Topgolf. We originally talked to him about the problem, and he kind of gave us this problem to work with. And then he connected us with Don Thurman, who's in charge of the business intelligence group. And he mainly is the one that we've been contacting throughout this semester, getting data and just asking him more questions about the data so we don't have to bother Ken. And then Professor Barr has been helping us tremendously through this whole process. And then, like I said, Katie, myself, and Zach.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a brief breakdown on the methods we used to solve the problem. First, we were given a huge data file from Topgolf. This was about 1.8 million data points, so we had to come up with a way that we were going to decide to group that data together and start looking at analyzing it. So what we did is we decided to extract the data using awk from the original Topgolf file, and we grouped it up by Topgolf site locations. So we decided mainly to focus on the Dallas and Austin site locations. Then after we had these locations grouped up separately, we decided to pull in weather data to look at that versus Topgolf's data and run regression models in Excel. After working with Excel, we realized that they would only compare 16 variables in their regression models. So we decided we had to move towards more advanced software to start looking at these regressions, which is where we decided to move towards our software to create a forecasting model that would look at the breakdowns of temperature ranges we created, days of the week, and months per year to compare that to the revenues. Some problems that we encountered during our project, when we were looking at the Dallas results, we saw a great change in the way the revenues were tracked in between 2013 and 2014. Zach will describe that a little later when we look at the graphs. Also, we had the learning curve of using a new software, R, which was help from Professor Barr, and a lot of the resources he provided us on Blackboard allowed us to overcome this new software. Also, originally we were looking at finding hourly weather data and comparing that to hourly revenues at Topgolf site locations. But however, when we were trying to find weather data, it was really hard to gather that consecutive hourly data for the historic 2 years back or the previous history. Also, like I said, we had 1.8 million data points to search through, so luckily condensing it into per site data and then tracking it down per day allowed for us to look at that more clearly. And finally, Excel, like I said, can only use 16 variables, so we decided to move towards that R software to get a more thorough report of our regression.
All right, so after running the model, these are the data points we got. These are the coefficients for each variable. Each of these is a binary variable. It can only be 0 or 1. Initially, we had just 3 variables: day of the week, month, and temperature, set up as just typical numbers. It ranges from 0 to 100. However, this is a false assumption. That would assume Saturday, December, 115 degrees would be the highest revenue. So we decided to split up the binary. So we get these variables, or these coefficients, and we have a great regression. However, these mean nothing. The correlation coefficient for this regression was 0.25, which shows very poor correlation between these variables and the actual revenue reported for that day. And if we look at this graph, we can see why. These are the data recorded from 2012 to 2013 December, and then remodel their location and also update their software. So you look up here, and this is the new software recording the actual revenue for those days. And so we just saw this as a huge problem, probably affecting our correlation coefficient quite a bit because of these huge residuals between the actual revenue and the forecasting. So we decided to just take the 2014 data out, look at the 2012 to 2013 data, and then maybe extrapolate this data to 2014. So we were more diagnostics for the 2014 data included. As you can see, these residuals over the trend line are massive, 60,000 over trend line. So got another one. This shows the same thing. Take the standardized residual, which takes the residual divided by the standard deviation of the residual, and then graphs it for value. As you can see again, there's an obvious trend line pulling it upward. Theoretical quantities, you can see that the forecasted around here, or actually we're getting way above. These are standardized residuals, 8 times standard deviation away from the fit of line. So we took the data, pulled 2014 out, and got these coefficients. Looks a little bit better. However, still the R coefficient, or correlation coefficient, was 0.3, still pretty poor. No correlation. We wondered why, so we looked again at the graph. These data reported, this is daily revenue, averages between 2,000 and, it's an outlier, but 6,000 per day. We know this to be false. Top golf set there about $100 million or $10 million revenue per year per site. $2,000, $5,000 average per day, you're going to have $1 million average revenue. So we know this is not accurate revenue data. Can't really be used, so it's poor data. You can't really pull a good regression model from poor data. So what do? We went to Austin, Texas, where they've opened about a year and a half ago, and they've always been running the new software at that location. So they've always had that correct reported revenue per day. Ran the same exact regression, where we actually got a correlation coefficient of 0.7, which is fairly good for this model. The problem with the data, however, it's only 9 months. It's a little small. Over a larger data sample, we think that the correlation coefficient, R squared, would actually increase a little bit. And so these are the coefficients we did end up with. Obvious trends are that Thursday, Friday, Saturday are huge boosted revenue days. Adds $40,000 in revenue per day on a Saturday, you can expect over the average. This Sunday is actually showed up as not available. The reason why is all these are binary variables, where these 7 variables are highly correlated with each other, and Sunday is actually explained by a combination of these 6 variables. It's actually a singularity. So looking at the data, I believe personally that the Sunday is a combination of the Friday and Monday data. We always saw that Sunday was the 3rd highest revenue day, Saturday was the highest, Friday 2nd highest, and Sunday was 3rd. So I would assume that if you took these 2, it would be the actual coefficient for that one. April, May actually do not have any data for those 2 months, so that's why they're not available. Same with December. The singularity can be explained by a combination of these 2. It's really interesting that all these are negative. It really shows that maybe the month doesn't really matter, and they should be broken down per season. But there were trends per month. There were like seasonality trends in the data. And then another thing we found interesting was these coefficients. There's a range between 70 and 90 degrees where they actually do less revenue, which would be unexpected those best days. However, maybe if it's nice outside, people actually want to go outside to play real golf. Whereas if it's cold and heated bays, people can go play heated golf. And if it's really hot, it's air conditioned as well, people can go play and not have to sweat the boiling Texas heat. And then, so here's the Austin data with the actual, the blue line is the actual data, and the red is forecasted, and you can see it actually follows along pretty well. There's a few that are off. This is about December. But revenues range from about $20,000 to $100,000 a day. And looking at the diagnostics, we can see the residuals, pretty random generation. The line follows along 0, so it shows a pretty good fit. Same with the scale location. You can see a random array of all the data points with the squared standardized residual. around 0.75. This theoretical quantity plot is actually interesting to look at. Data should go perfectly across the line, and it does in the middle. However, it's slower in the beginnings, and in the end, it suggests that maybe it's a quadratic regression, just due to the S-curve, and not perfect linear one. And then this one actually shows there's two outliers in the data, which probably need to be removed because they have a huge impact on the model.
So our conclusion, as Zach mentioned, is the weather and the day of the week determine what days Topgolf can expect higher revenue and more people coming in. And like he said, the temperature ranges, the range from 52 to 70 actually does best, which surprised us. And then 71 to 80 or even 90 yields worse results, which was also surprising. And then as we get more data, this will become a better model, and we can get even more trends through that. And do we have any questions?
What were they gonna use this data for?
They were going to use it, they have
For
a
your forecast, I'm sorry.
KPI, key performance indicator of revenue dollars per employee hour. And so they want to look at the expected revenue, and that way they know how many employee hours to schedule that day. That way they're meeting their goal.
Because right now they don't,
They
They were
currently
saying
just
something
staff
like-
full and cut people if it's not busy.
right, just, and bring too many in and send them home.
Yep, and that results in higher turnover and just higher wage costs.
Remember he said something most surprising to me, he said, we don't know whether to hire 400 or 500 people to work in this new place. You know, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I mean, hopefully a forecasting model can create, results to help them create better business decisions in many different areas, like how much food to order and looking at, different aspects of how much turnover do they have to cleaning staff and, for a big bunch.
Tell me about this, how profitable this business is.
Yeah, so Topgolf is, it's only been around for 5 years, and they already have 10 and 2 locations opening right now. And in the next 5 years, they're looking to open 90 new locations. So that's over 900% growth. Right now, they're a privately held company, so we're looking out for them to become public because this is, a great company. And like Zach said, the revenues, each site earns $10 million of revenue per year, and 90 sites.
They're going to be a billion-dollar
looking to
company
be
in 5
open.
years.
So to build a site, these-
17 million to build a site,
Yeah, so then
and they've already
2
got all the
years,
capital they need to build their next site. So there's
they,
so many investors who want, you get your ROI in 2.5 years, so.
So with being able to input forecasting models into their strategy, they'll be able to increase these revenues, not only double, but maybe triple them by, reducing some of their waste and wasted costs, so.
It's like they weren't even tracking the profit, they just.
they said on that first meeting that they were just doing so well that they didn't
Yeah.
do this. They were like,
They didn't
well, we're already doing our, we're already
We're making
profitable.
money,
Yeah.
just hire as
Yeah.
many people as we can, we're still making money.
Uh-huh.
And with so moving so quickly, I think they're finally getting a chance to kind of step back. The chief operational officer and the employee we were working with, Don, was just hired on about 6 months ago, and they've just started this business intelligence group. So hopefully they'll be able to further our models and create models of their own to forecast their new sites.
If anybody wants a job, like they got job offers just when we walk in. Is it, hey, you guys want?
It's a great company.
Thank you so much.